Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Oudra Daily English. I am so happy you are here with me today. I am Sara, and today it is just me. No Oudra today, just you and me. And honestly, I love these solo episodes because we can just sit down together, relax, and really talk. So, today, we are going to talk about something that I know a lot of you have been asking about. How do you talk about your holiday? How do you describe what you do during your days off, your vacation, your break? What words do you use? What phrases sound natural? What questions can you ask someone else about their holiday? Because here's the thing, a lot of learners can talk about their job, their city, their family, but the moment someone asks, "So, what did you do on your holiday?" everything just stops. The words disappear, and you end up saying something like, "I relaxed," or "It was good," and that is it. The conversation dies. So, after today, that is not going to happen anymore. I am going to walk you through everything. How to talk about where you went, how to describe what you did each day, how to talk about the food, the weather, the people, how to say what you loved and what was not so great, and how to ask other people about their holidays in a way that keeps the conversation going naturally. And the whole time, I am going to use completely natural phrases, the kind of things you would actually say to a friend, not textbook sentences. Real conversation. Ready? Let us start. So first, let's talk about how to answer the most common question you will ever hear after a holiday. And that question is, how was your holiday? Or, how was your trip? Or, did you have a good time? Now, a lot of people answer this with just one word: good, nice, fine, relaxing. And those are not wrong, but they do not give the other person anything to work with. The conversation just stops right there. So instead, try to give a two-part answer. First, one strong feeling word, then one specific detail. That's it. 2 parts, and suddenly you sound completely fluent. So instead of just saying, "It was good," you say something like, "It was absolutely amazing. We found this tiny restaurant on the beach that nobody else seemed to know about." Or, "It was so relaxing. I literally did not look at my phone for 3 whole days." Or, "It was a bit exhausting, honestly. We tried to do too much, and by the last day, we were completely done." You see the difference? One word becomes a real answer, and the other person immediately wants to hear more. They'll say, "Oh, really? What restaurant?" Or, "How did you manage without your phone?" And now you have a real conversation happening. Okay. Let me give you some strong feeling words you can use. These are all natural and real. Amazing, incredible, absolutely beautiful, so relaxing, really peaceful, a little overwhelming, exhausting but worth it, totally different from what I expected, better than I imagined, honestly a bit disappointing, magical, unforgettable. Practice right now. Think of your last holiday or your last day off. Finish this sentence out loud. "It was blank because blank." Say it. Use one of those words and add one detail. Go. Good. Now, let's talk about how to describe where you went. This sounds simple, but there are some really nice phrases that make your answer sound much more interesting. Instead of just saying, "I went to Paris," try adding a little more. "I spent a week in Paris. We went down to the coast for a few days. I traveled up north to visit some family. We flew out to Morocco for 10 days. I stayed in a small town about an hour outside of Rome." Notice those phrases: spent a week in, went down to, traveled up north, flew out to, stayed in. These are all natural ways to describe where you were and give a sense of movement and place at the same time. And if you stayed home for your holiday, which is completely valid and honestly sometimes the best thing, you can say things like, I had a staycation. I stayed local. I just took some time at home. I spent the week relaxing at home, and honestly, it was exactly what I needed. Now let me give you some phrases for describing what you did each day, because this is where most learners really struggle. They know big words like sightseeing or swimming, but the everyday, in-between moments are harder to describe. So here are some really natural phrases. We spent most mornings just wandering around the old town. We hired a car and drove along the coast. We ended up at this little market completely by accident. We stayed in and ordered food one night because we were just too tired to go out. We got up early one morning and hiked up to the viewpoint. We mostly just sat by the pool and did absolutely nothing. We stumbled across this incredible little cafe that became our regular spot. I love that last one, stumbled across. It means you found something by accident without planning it. It's such a useful and natural phrase. I stumbled across a beautiful park. We stumbled across a live music night. I stumbled across this podcast and now I cannot stop listening. Here are a few more verbs and phrases that will make your holiday descriptions sound really natural. We checked in to our hotel around 3 in the afternoon. We headed out early to beat the crowds. We grabbed breakfast at a little bakery near our place. We took a day trip to a nearby village. We ended the evening with a walk along the waterfront. We made the most of every single day.
That last one is really lovely. Made the most of. It means you used your time well. You enjoyed everything fully. I made the most of the sunny weather. We made the most of our last day. Try using that one. Okay, now let us talk about how to describe the food, because food is always part of any good holiday story, and it is something people love to hear about. Simple phrases first. The food was incredible. We ate so well. Everything we tried was delicious. I had the best blank I have ever eaten in my life. We found this little place that was completely off the tourist path, and the food was just outstanding. And if the food was not great, and sometimes it is not, you can say, we struggled to find good food, honestly. A lot of the places near the tourist areas were quite average. We had one really disappointing meal, but honestly, everything else made up for it. Notice how I said made up for it there? That means the other good things canceled out the bad thing. The view made up for the long walk. The weather made up for the expensive hotel. Really useful phrase. Now, let me give you some food vocabulary that comes up a lot in holiday conversations. We tried the local specialties. We went to a rooftop restaurant with the most incredible view. We had a big traditional breakfast every morning. We grabbed street food for lunch most days. We splurged on a really nice dinner for our last night. We shared loads of small dishes, kind of like tapas. Splurged is a great word. It means you spent more money than usual on something special. We splurged on a nicer hotel. I splurged on this amazing piece of jewelry I found at the market. We splurged on a sunset boat trip, and it was 100% worth it. Okay, let us talk about the weather now, because the weather always comes up in holiday conversations, especially if something was different from what you expected. Natural phrases for weather. The weather was absolutely perfect the whole time. We got lucky with the weather. It was beautifully warm, but not too hot. The evenings were lovely and cool. We had one day of rain, which was actually fine because we just explored the covered market. It was much hotter than I expected. The heat was a bit intense in the middle of the day, so we would rest and then go out again in the evening. That last one is a really natural thing to say. We would rest and then go out again in the evening. Using would here describes a repeated routine or habit during the holiday, things you did regularly. We would get up around 8. We would grab coffee and sit outside for a while. We would head out around 10 when it was not too hot. We would come back for a rest in the afternoon. We would go out again in the evening when everything felt more alive. Practice that structure. Think about your last trip or imagine a dream holiday. Tell me your routine using would. Every morning we would blank. In the afternoon we would blank. In the evening we would blank. Say it out loud right now. Now, let us talk about how to describe the place itself, the vibe, the feeling, the atmosphere, because this is what really paints a picture for the person listening. Try these phrases. The whole place had this incredible energy. It was so much more beautiful than I expected. The old town was absolutely stunning. Everything was so colorful and full of life. It felt completely different from home. The streets were so narrow and full of character. There was something really magical about the way the light looked in the evening. It was the kind of place where you could just walk for hours and never get bored. And one of my favorite ways to describe a place is to say what it reminded you of or what it felt like. It felt like stepping back in time. It reminded me of those old films where everything looks golden and warm. It had the kind of atmosphere where you just want to sit down with a coffee and watch the world go by. That last phrase, sit down with a coffee and watch the world go by, is so natural and so commonly used. It perfectly describes that relaxed holiday feeling. Use it. Okay, almost at the end. Let us talk about how to wrap up your holiday story. How do you end it well? How do you express how you felt leaving? Natural endings. I honestly did not want to leave. By the last day, I was already thinking about going back. I came home completely recharged. I came back exhausted, but so happy. It was exactly what I needed. I feel like I left a little piece of my heart there. I'm already planning when I can go back. It reminded me how important it is to just switch off sometimes. And one of the most natural things you can say is, I would 100% recommend it, or I would go back in a heartbeat. A heartbeat means immediately, without hesitation. I would go back in a heartbeat. I would recommend it in a heartbeat. Now, let me give you some questions you can ask someone else about their holiday, because a good conversation goes both ways, and asking good questions shows you're genuinely interested and keeps everything flowing naturally. How was it overall? Was it everything you hoped for? What was the highlight for you? Did anything surprise you? What was the food like? Did you have a favorite moment? Was it very touristy, or did you find some hidden spots? Would you go back? What would you do differently if you went again? That last one is really interesting. What would you do differently? It opens up such a natural and honest conversation. People love answering that one because everyone always has something they wish they had done or not done. Okay, final practice before we finish. I want you to describe your last holiday or a dream holiday using everything we covered today. Try to include one strong feeling word, where you went, what your routine was using would, something you stumbled across, something about the food, and how you felt leaving. You don't have to say it perfectly. Just say it out loud right now. That's real practice. Let me do it first so you have an example. My last holiday was honestly one of the most peaceful I have ever had. We spent 5 days in a small coastal town about 2 hours from the city. Every morning we would wake up slowly, grab coffee, and sit on the little balcony before heading out. We stumbled across this incredible fish restaurant on the second day that became our spot for the rest of the trip. The food was outstanding, the weather was perfect, and by the last morning, I genuinely did not want to leave. I came home completely recharged, and I would go back in a heartbeat. See how that flows? You can do exactly the same. Your own story, your own details. Write your version in the comments. I read every single one, and I would love to hear about your holiday. And if this episode was useful for you, please give it a like and share it with someone who's also working on speaking more naturally. It really helps us reach more people. Subscribe to Oudra Daily English for new episodes every week. We make every single one with you in mind. Keep talking, keep practicing, and remember, fluency is not about being perfect. It's about being understood. And you're closer than you think. Until next time,
Take care, everyone. See you soon.